Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those within the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to Insights. I'm Sherry Stewart. Today we're talking about something most everyone loves to do, and that's travel. We'll be stopping in to visit two locations right here in Alpena, and you may recognize them. But before we do that, we want to bring you our interview with Dave Lorenz. He's the Vice President of Travel Michigan. Well, Dave, I want to thank you for spending some time with us today to talk about what many of us enjoy, and that's traveling throughout the state of Michigan. We know that travel is an incredible part of our economy here in the state. Can you paint a picture of us pre and post COVID-19?
Yeah, happy to do so. And I'm really glad you put it that way, by the way. Travel and tourism is a bigger part of our life than I think most people generally realize. And I think after what we've been going through this year, I think going forward, there's going to be a better appreciation for all that we consider as travel and tourism and for the people in the travel and tourism industry. So, there'll be some good things that come out of this. The industry was absolutely doing fantastic. We had record years in a row. The Pure Michigan campaign was doing a great job to pull people into the state. Our local partners all throughout the state were doing a fantastic job to market their local areas. Billions of dollars in business was happening. Millions and millions of people were traveling throughout the state. People from Michigan were exploring new places and small towns, maybe they haven't been to for a while throughout the state. And then this thing happened. And this thing happened on top of the high water levels that we've all been dealing with recently. And on top of having no funding for Pure Michigan this year because of a challenge between the governor and the legislature. So it all happened at the same time. And I have to tell you, the travel industry is in trouble. We have businesses that simply will not survive this situation. And for people who say, well, I'm not affected by that. Well, you are because you're not going to be able to enjoy those services that used to be able to be enjoyed at those businesses, and those jobs that used to be associated with those businesses will be gone. Many of them will come back in some other form, in the future. Let's cross our fingers. But it's been devastating. The travel and tourism at one point had about half of our employees out of work. Starting to pick up now, but it can't pick up fast enough.
Mm-hmm. That is an incredible picture that you paint. And let's talk about the Pure Michigan campaign. I have friends out of state, and they have actually seen the campaign, and I know before it was no longer funded. It was a very successful campaign for us.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm vice chair, actually, of the National Council of State Travel Directors, and it's so interesting for me to hear from my peers out there in the country the appreciation they have for Pure Michigan, and they understand the value of this effort. It really has done so much for the state. Not only did it awaken the world to Michigan as a travel destination, but I think it also woke us up here in Michigan. I think it reminded us that this state's worth fighting for. When Pure Michigan came about around 15 years ago, we were in pretty bad shape. Worse shape in a lot of ways than we are right now. And then Pure Michigan came about. It was part of the reason why the state came back. And it will be, again, a part of the reason and the way the state will come back. I'm absolutely convinced that the governor and the legislature are going to do everything they can to get funding for Pure Michigan, because as we promote travel and tourism, what we're really doing is telling the state that this is a great place to travel, but it's also an opportunity to tell the world that this is a great place to live, to work, to invest, to go to school. And it makes us all proud. And pride is the greatest motivator for success the world has ever known. Mm-hmm. So we'll be back with promotional dollars. For the time being, it's important to know that Travel Michigan, which manages the Pure Michigan brand, we're still around. We just don't have promotional dollars, and we're still fighting and working as hard as we can to serve the travel industry and the people of Michigan, and nothing's going to stop us. Mm-hmm. We're going to get it done one way or the other. And one of those days when that budget comes through, we're going to do it a lot better.
Well, we're excited to hear that. And would you agree? I think one of the unique things about living here in Michigan is that we have something for every season. So if you love apple picking, I know that's one of the things my family and I enjoy going to do, is to visit the apple orchards. If you love the snow, there's plenty of opportunities to indulge there. If you love fishing, as we have here in Northeast Michigan and pretty much throughout the state. So I think that is what makes us very unique. What do you say about that?
Absolutely true. And thank you for mentioning snow. I know it's, it's not the time of year we're thinking about it, but that's my favorite time of the year. I know how strange that is. I don't know anybody else who loves winter more than I do, frankly. I love winter. Everything's so beautiful. And if you get out there and enjoy it, it's like anything else in life. If you take part in the season, it will change your attitude. And you're going to really find a lot of reasons why winter is a beautiful time in Michigan. But you're also right that because we're a four-season state, we're in a very unique position. With the 45th parallel going right through the center of our state, we have this really unique opportunity to have some of the best agriculture and agriculturally tourism-related experiences to enjoy. We have, all these fun things that we can do in all these various seasons. The best fall color you're going to find anywhere.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And of course, what most people like is right now, the great beaches, 11,000 lakes, millions of acres of forest. Man, we've got a lot to offer.
We absolutely do. Dave, are there any times of the year that we actually see more travel within the state or to the state? Are there times of year that, say if it were not for this COVID-19 pandemic, where we would have seen a lot more activity?
Yeah, this is the absolute biggest part of the season for us right now, middle July. June, July, and August are our big months, but July and August primarily. Of course, with COVID, we have restrictions everywhere. There are fewer travelers. More of our travel is coming from in-state people. I've been surprised to see the number of out-state license plates coming in, and that really speaks to the power of pure Michigan. Those years of making sure people were aware of Michigan and showing them the beauty of Michigan, that sticks with you for a while, not long, but for a while. And so Michigan's been this bucket list destination for a lot of people. So they're coming this year to kind of get away from the big city environments of Chicago and Indy and Columbus and wherever. And they are welcome here as long as they do all the things that we're expecting from our in-state audience as well. And that is be part of the solution. By wearing a face mask while you're indoors, while you're in crowded areas out of doors. And then when you're out by yourself and enjoying the fresh air of Michigan, then, take it off, enjoy yourself. But socially distancing and cleaning your hands and all those things. Everybody's welcome here. But this year it's a little different. We expect something from people, and that is to play their part of keeping each other safe, comfortable, and clean and healthy. Next year, I'm absolutely sure we'll have a vaccine. I'm no doctor, but I believe we will. And then we'll get back to our normal lives. But for the time being, we have to think about each other more than ever. And I hope that's also one thing that comes out of this crisis, is a better appreciation for each other and for the value that we bring each other. And maybe, through this time, showing each other more dignity and respect. Maybe that will flow beyond this period as well.
Absolutely. Well, Dave, before we let you go, we do want to ask you, are there any resources or any websites or online resources that you can direct some of these businesses to that have certainly been impacted that are in the travel industry?
Yeah, happy to do so. Pure Michigan is part of the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and the MEDC has done a tremendous job to provide services to businesses and to people all throughout the state. So if you go to michiganbusiness.org/COVID-19, you'll learn about all those programs. The MEDC has helped something like 14,700 people retain their jobs during this time period because of these programs. So you're going to learn about what was just announced, the Business Restart Program, which is tremendous, $100 million program using those CARES Act funds to help businesses. And then a bunch of others. There's a new agricultural program that just came out. We have a Reopen Main Street program. We're working with Michigan Main Street. It goes on and on and on. So go to that michiganbusiness.org/COVID-19 to learn more.
Okay, well, I want to thank you so much. This has been a fantastic interview. It's spending time with you today. Wish we had more time to talk about the great state of Michigan, but we got to go. We've got 2 locations that we're going to stop in and visit today. So again, thank you so much, Dave.
Yeah, I'll see you in studio one of these days. Won't that be cool?
Absolutely, absolutely. Have a good day.
Insights will return after these messages.
Well, welcome back to Insights. Joining me now is Louis Engelbrecht. He is the owner and operator of Big Bear Lodge right here in Alpena, right off of US 23 South. So I want to welcome you to the show today, Louis.
Thank you very much.
So we've got a lot to talk about. First off, just how COVID-19 has impacted your business here.
Yeah, it definitely did. We were fully booked in March. There were all kinds of organized events like the robotics and so on, and the weekends were full. And then in the middle of March, we took a small break, and when we were on our way back, people started canceling because all the events were canceled, you know, school events. And then everyone else also canceled with a travel ban. So for March and April, all of April, we had numerous days where there was no one here. And, you know, the effect, obviously, the expenses still continued. You still have to pay your insurance and your utilities and your whatever, but the income wasn't there, so it was tough. And then in sort of May, people started having to do things like we had a forester that had to check the forest. That was essential work, and other essential workers needed places to stay. And then repairs and maintenance in the factories and so on, those people had somewhere to stay, so then it started picking up.
So a gradual pickup. So tell me about this place. It's just an adorable little spot here, and you've been the owner-operator for what, about 3 years or so?
Going for 4 years.
What attracted you to this property?
We literally looked all over the country, from the Carolinas all the way to California, and from Texas, where we lived at the time, all the way up to Maine and Wisconsin. And eventually we had a sort of a short list of places that interested us, that were viable, that we could afford. And we've really seen the whole country, all the highlights, all the parks and cities and everything else. And one day I said to Hanley, my wife, we've seen all the Great Lakes, but not Lake Huron. So instead of going down Holland and Traverse City side, or on the Wisconsin side, or down the middle, let's just take this detour and see, and we can tick it off our list.
Well, you have an interesting story because you're actually from South Africa.
Yeah, originally there. So born and bred in Africa. The family, the ancestors, has been there for hundreds of years, you know, since about the 16 and 1700s. And then I worked for an international auditing and management consulting firm, and they sent us to the States the first time we came. It was like an inter-office review. So I came and checked the quality of the Chicago office, and they sent people all around the world just to make sure we're all the same quality.
Right, and so now you settled on Alpena.
Yeah, so then that's why we discovered Alpena, because we thought we'll tick off Lake Huron.
Yeah.
And when we got here, there was nothing in this section of the state on our list, because we could only afford a certain amount. And then we stopped at the Big Boy, and I looked online and I said, well, there is one thing, but it was double the size. We were thinking 10 rooms, this is 20.
Now, what are some of the changes that you've made in light of COVID-19? Everyone obviously is concerned about safety, about making sure that we minimize spreading the virus. So what are some of the things that you've done in your units here to comply with that?
The most obvious one is that we can't serve breakfast anymore. We used to serve almost a continental breakfast. It was a bit more than your regular continental. But because it's self-help and buffet style, and you can't disinfect between every guest, and you can't keep them 6 foot apart, that we weren't able to meet those regulations. So instead of serving the breakfast, we dropped the price a little bit. Other than that, we've always had germaphobes and OCD cleaners, so they cleaned every room properly. We really didn't have to adjust much there. I think we maybe use a little bit more disinfectant spray than before, just to be doubly safe. And they have to wear the little masks.
And wear the masks.
So yeah, yeah.
Now, what is it about the property, before we let you go today, what are some of the things about this beautiful place that you want people to know? If they haven't had a chance to visit, we get viewers from all around the area, so what do you want people to know most about this property?
Most people enjoy the location because it's right on the beach, and they walk to the splash pad, and there's fancy restaurants all around and regular ones. And they also enjoy the old-time feeling, you know, the 1950s roadside lodge kind of attitude. Not everyone. Some people prefer the more modern interior corridor kind of things. And also bigger rooms. Our rooms are built like, they were built in the 50s, and they're still like that. We just cosmetically upgraded and decorated. And Susie and my wife, they've got every room different colors. I put in different floors, different hardwood floors. So it's a sort of a homey feeling, not a cookie cutter or chain type atmosphere.
Well, I want to thank you, Louis, for spending some time with us today. We really enjoyed you talking to us about the property here and what people can expect when they come in and they need to have some wonderful lodging.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
it's
you.
a pleasure.
Insights will return after these messages.
Welcome back to Insights, and joining me now is Mark Hall. He is the owner-operator here at Campers Cove RV Park and Canoe Livery. It's a mouthful though, but it's such a nice place here today. Tell me about it. What's been happening with COVID-19 and the impact of this pandemic on your business?
Well, as many businesses in recreation and in all restaurants and everything else, most of us were closed down the first part of the season, lost one of our major holidays, which would have been Memorial Day. That had a huge impact, but once we were allowed to open up, the phone didn't stop ringing, people kept coming, and it's actually been fairly busy once that took place.
Well, that's really exciting for you. Camping is a major thing that we do here in Michigan. How large is the property here? You have, what is it, 90
we
sites
have
or so?
We have 98 sites, and it sits on just about 25 acres, and then about 1,300 feet of water frontage.
So lots of opportunity for families to come just to decompress, to get away from, other activities, city life, if you will.
Yeah, and I think that's really why we've been so busy. People were locked down for so long that once they could get out and do something, they just wanted to do family activities. Obviously, that has to be done within the CDC guidelines, and that has changed a little bit of how we do business. But for the most part, people can stay on their sites. They're somewhat isolated. They only interact at the level that they wish to interact. So it's a different way of doing business after 18 years, but it's not something that we're not going to be able to achieve.
And as you say, once we got the go-ahead to kind of get a little bit, get outside and start moving again, I know that on the signs of your door into the office you have masks required. So what are some of the other things that you guys have been doing just to comply with, just to try to stop the spread of COVID-19?
Well, obviously there are some activities that take place in an RV resort that, you have to take into consideration, i.e. the train ride. It's outside, but it's difficult to maintain the 6 feet social distancing. So it's required that you wear masks if you take the train ride. The bikes, you're pretty much by yourself or within a family unit. Some of the activities, obviously the store, the game room, any of those types of things, you have to have a mask on. And then obviously there's an additional cleaning that needs to take place in the bathhouses and things like that. So it's just kind of not letting the problem run you, but try to figure out how you can control the problem. And it is difficult, but again, it's something that has to happen, because for most businesses, if they don't get their summer revenue, they're not going to be able to make it through the winter. So if wearing masks in this new executive order 2020-147 requires everybody to wear a mask or stay 6 feet, if that keeps the if that keeps us open and keeps Northeast Michigan open, then I think it's a small price to pay, to make it through the rest of the season.
So what are your thoughts on this whole RV industry? Seems as though it has peaked, ebbed and flowed over the years. I think now it's more popular than it used to be. It's a lot more affordable to go camping and to have that type of family time. What have you seen over the years?
Well, obviously things have changed over many years, from people that tented a lot to RVs.
Yeah.
The industry has grown and continues to grow because it's probably one of them last things that families can get out and do together. You'll see children running around here fishing instead of playing with their iPhones or things like that. So, and it also kind of brings back, I think, memories of when folks were younger and they remember camping with their families, and they just want to return that same experience to their children or their grandchildren. We see generational of people coming and going. You'll see folks come in with their families, and then they'll do that to their kids who are about 16 years old, and then they'll go away for a while. And then a few years later, they show back up with their grandkids. So after 18 years of being in Alpena, we've seen the cycle go through, and it's still a great industry. It's still a great family activity, and I think it's going to continue on regardless of what this virus does. Yeah,
I agree with you. I actually grew up camping, as I shared with you before we got started. Grew up camping and going to places just like this with my parents. So I do get it. So what is your message? I mean, do you normally see a lot of people from out of state come in, or does it just span the gamut of people that are coming in to stop at your site?
Well, obviously, for the 18 years we've been here, about 70% of our business is local. And when I say local, I mean mostly Northeast Michigan local. And then the remainder obviously comes from all over the country. But, this year it is a lot of local people. You still see license plates from different places, and that has changed quite a bit. The other thing that's kind of impacted the business is that there's so many activities that are not taking place this year. Ball games, racing, people are not flying as much. So we're really not seeing a negative impact, but remember, we still have to make up for the time that we lost. And for most of us, there's only a certain number of days that you can hope to achieve that.
Well, before we let you go today, Mark, tell us something about the property that people may not know. We get viewers from a lot of different areas. What will be your welcome mat to them, if you will?
Our welcome mat, we joke about it quite a bit, that this is a family campground. It's meant for mom, dad, 2.5 kids, and a dog. If you want to have your kids fish in a pond or fish in a lake, go swimming, play on the trampoline, do something fun together, this is the location. And we sure want to see those folks continue to come for the rest of this year, and then hopefully next year is a little bit more normal.
Absolutely, we hope the same thing. And so it was wonderful chatting with you today. You took me back down memory lane, because I loved camping. So just a great time chatting with you today.
Thank you so much.
Best of luck throughout the rest of the summer.
Thank you again.
Well, that does it for this week's Insights. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, we'd love to hear from you. You can email us at news@wbkb11.com. I'm Sherry Stewart. Have a great week.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.